This is Pete Feenstra on Friday the 17th of June, live at the Boom Boom Club Sutton. Amazingly enough, talking to David La Flamme from It's a Beautiful Day.
Nice to see you again.
Fantastic, groundbreaking violinist, and second time the band have played here, although unfortunately Linda's not well tonight.
I'll tell you, she came last night and she struggled through it, and then today she was just terribly worse, and you know, we were really debating whether she shouldn't be in hospital right now. I mean,
well, we wish her well.
Thank you.
We wish her well.
I mean, it's pretty scary. We've never missed a show together all these years.
Wow.
So
tonight's a bit of an exclusive.
Wasn't serious, you know.
And just as we launch into the interview, Alan Clayton launches into his sound check, but please bear with us. I said it's amazing that you're here. I mean, the band goes back all the way to 1967, is that correct?
It does.
And you've really gone through the highs and lows of rock and roll for all sorts of reasons.
Been through all the highs and lows of it. Yeah.
The highs being the success of White Bird and Bombay Calling, all those wonderful songs that the band and you in particular wrote, but of course the downside was for many years you couldn't actually use the name, is that correct?
That's correct. It was a question of a trademark of the name, and we had an old manager, same old story, who had trademarked the name. We didn't know that. I don't think we even knew you needed to trademark a name.
Right.
And you know, we found out he was a liar and a thief eventually.
Well,
and or as I said to him at one point there, right before we left, of course the other guys in the band just wanted to punch him. But I said to him before I left, I said, well, isn't there enough for all of us? I said, really? Isn't there enough? And he said, no. Then he went into a long essay about how he needed all the money for these big plans that he had. And in the meantime, we were all flat broke and working all the time.
Oh, you were working?
Oh, we were working all the time. He just wouldn't.
That was in Seattle.
He just wouldn't give us any money. You know, and at the time I had a pregnant wife.
Wow.
You know, all kinds of things. I was way behind on my rent and everything.
But you still carried on being creative, and you still carried on writing
songs.
songs.
You know, I'm one of those people. Just don't get me angry like that, or I'm going to prove myself, and I'm not going to let some jerk like that ruin my life. So I just kept going and going and going, even without the name.
Right.
And you know, we didn't have. I couldn't afford to. Well, let's put it this way. I got a reputation for someone who had problems.
Right.
And once you get a reputation like that, or they used to say that it was in common circles, well, he's a wonderful artist, but he's a bad businessman. Well, the truth of it is I had lawyers, I had managers, I had accountants. I had all the things you would have to be a good businessman. Yeah. It's just that they were all a bunch of thieves.
Yeah, they're all
and, you know, what can you do about that?
Happily, apart from the fact that we're here tonight and you're still playing.
I've always kept my eye on the ball. And to me, it's just like tonight and my band tonight. It's an extraordinary band. You're going to hear some wonderful playing by these extraordinary musicians. And really, that's all that really mattered to me. I mean, I just wanted to be part of a good band all the time.
Yeah. And
go out and play some good music. And, you know, I've never been a drug addict or an alcoholic or anything like that. My high was always on that stage.
And of course your background was as much classical as it was rock, wasn't it?
Very much. And so the discipline of a classical musician, it takes a lot of discipline, you know, a lot of practice.
And when did you actually first cross over from being in the symphony orchestra to actually leading a West Coast psychedelic
yeah, it was quite a leap. But folk music was between there. I had been a folk guitarist, singer, songwriter, folk guitarist in college and after college, and really was interested in doing a band thing.
Excellent. So,
keep going.
I've just been, well, okay, I thought we were running out of time. Your break came with opening for Cream on the West Coast.
It did.
Fillmore West, I think it was.
It did.
That seems like a complete mismatch, for they say so.
Well,
power rock trio.
You know, it was one of those things that the promoter Bill Graham was desperate for somebody to play an opening set tonight.
Okay.
And called my rehearsal studio and said, "Can you be over at the Oakland Coliseum in an hour?"
Okay.
And I said, you bet we can.
Yeah.
And
how did that go? I mean, was it
you know, we were so rehearsed.
Oh, I'm ready to
You
go.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were so ready. It's like a great horse in the gate. You're holding him back. We were ready, and we saw the show.
I'm sure you did. About a year later, you ended up at the Albert Hall in London with Santana, Johnny Winter. And
yeah. We just
cast of
came
thousands. And it was on TV, and I guess that's what broke you in Europe.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it did.
That was a fantastic performance. It's still there on YouTube if anybody hasn't seen it. Now, the intervening years, of course, you recorded Marion Maiden, which was fantastic. But after that, probably in lieu of what you've just been telling us, you kind of disappeared almost. You became the David La Flamme band, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. Then I did 2 solo albums for a smaller label, which was great because, you know, when you're working with a smaller label, you actually can communicate with the boss yourself. You don't have to go through a lot of people for every little thing you want to try to accomplish.
So that gave you more creative...
Oh, absolutely. Much more creative power and so on. And I was able to do in my solo albums some of the songs that just didn't really fit the It's a Beautiful Day image.
Okay.
And I always tried to keep the material within a certain image of, I don't know, positive, sunshine and good feeling.
West Coast vibes.
You know, right.
Yeah. So that did well.
No blues.
No. And you charted in your own name with Whitebird, got on the
Billboard
Top 100, which was a great thing. So in the we haven't got a lot of time here, but in the intervening years, subsequent to you having your solo career, did you completely break away from music, or?
No. As a matter of fact, I was visiting a friend in Los Angeles. At the time, I was living up north and not doing much of anything, and I didn't feel like playing in a band at all. And it was just too hard to make any money as David La Flamme band, and I explained why earlier. But anyway, I got a call from a guy that I knew slightly, another violinist, and he wanted to know if I could substitute for him one night. That night.
Right. Same as what happened to you.
Did you have a tuxedo? Well, it was just that, I think a day before, my mother had discovered my old tuxedo in a closet and sent it to me. So here, I just received this tuxedo. I could barely get it on.
What was the gig?
Well, it was a gig, he said it was a gig down at the Century Plaza Hotel, and there would be a number of other violinists there, and I should go and find this fellow Murray Corda and tell him that I was going to substitute for him tonight. So when I got down there, you know, I went in the room there with all these other violinists, and it was a big convention type thing. And in fact, it was the president of Coca-Cola's birthday party. So it was full of people from all over the world, distributed.
And you got a break from that, I guess.
At that party, Murray Corda's brother, Bobby, and I played in a quartet together at music school when we were 14, 15, and 16 years old. So I went up, I found this Murray Corda, and I said to him, are you Mr. Corda? He said, yes. I said, well, I'm David La Flamme. He said, well, isn't that nice, but who the heck are you? And I said, well, I'm a violinist. He said, well, what are you doing here? So I told him this guy called me. Oh, he was very upset. But then he said, well, okay, I hope you can play. He said, can you play anything by ear? And I said, yes, anything. Any song ever written. He said, well, I hope so. Later on that evening, I met his brother, Bobby, who I told you I played in a quartet with. So he said to me, well, what are you doing nowadays? And I said, nothing, really nothing. And he said, well, if you want to work, he said, you know, Murray is one of the top contractors in Los Angeles.
So there it is.
There it was.
Oh yeah, and you were back in the loop.
I was back in the loop, and I was playing like Barbra Streisand's wedding, you know, all kinds of parties at all kinds of places in Beverly Hills, conventions, all that kind of work.
And your name got about again.
What I call tuxedo jobs.
Well, that's whatever it takes.
Well, paid very good. It was very easy work for me. Compared to a band, it's like nothing.
So when did you come back to It's a Beautiful Day then? When did the band start?
Well, in 1997.
So, okay.
You know, a friend of mine called me, and they were having a Fillmore Auditorium celebration. And they asked me if I would get the band back together play a few songs at the celebration. And I said, well, I don't think so. But I said, I'll tell you what, if you can get the other guys to do it, because they all hate me, or they used to, because they felt like, I don't know what their problem was. I didn't really do anything wrong, but when things fall apart, you know how that is. Somebody has to take the blame. When you're the leader, you take the blame.
You are the band, anyway.
That's right. So anyway, he called me back a few days later and said, hey, they all want to play.
Right.
Oh, I said, oh no. All right. Well, we played that show that night, and you know, it was a lot of fun.
And it rekindled a few
memories.
memories.
Rekindled. And then there was a fellow, I'll never forget, some long-haired, freaky guy that kept standing below me on the stage yelling, La Flamme, La Flamme, you're a god, you're a god. Well, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people here tonight still believe that. It's great to have you here. We're going to hear all the old stuff, hopefully. It's kind of keeping the old heritage of the West Coast alive.
Yeah.
In South West London. It's great. It's Pete Feenstra talking to David La Flamme. It's been an absolute pleasure. Alan Kimber on the camera. Thank you and good night.